Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon. This is Indy Comics Explained yet again. I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators, and most of them, not all of them, are from overseas, which is awesome. I don't get to talk to a lot of these guys very often, which is cool. So yeah. So without further ado, let's bring in the co-host.
The one who's not overseas.
This is true.
Well, I guess depending where you're watching from.
Right. So please, Mark, introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, I am Mark Torres. It came from the radio, the official show, the Big Apple Con. I've been hosting the show. We just had our 21st anniversary on WGBB in Long Island. We are a syndicated radio program talking about movies, comics, and entertainment. Also have my book, Designated, which is recently performed as a radio play at New York Comic Con and at the MCon. It's about two warring alien races fighting over a newly discovered power source. The war finds its way to planet Earth, and as a result, humans gain abilities.
Cool. Mr. Glenn, long time no see. How have you been, sir?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you lot? Nice to be here. I'm a writer, artist, and publisher. I've spent 50 years in graphics, believe it or not. Far too long, producing everything, comic books, illustrations, printing, brochures, design, documentaries, whatever you want to call it. Currently, I'm on Fund My Comic with my Hatch annotated book, which Hatch is a character I created. And this book details his origins and all that kind of thing. Lots of published and unpublished work in there. If you go to New Haven Publishing and Amazon, you can get my book about my trip to see Jack Kirby, which is worth reading. And there's also a film documentary that you can get from me. And also on Amazon, you've got Comics Unlimited number 15, which is out now. This is number 1, but number 15 is out now. It's a magazine about comics, believe it or not. So check that out. Lots of other stuff. I've got 11 books in print, varying subjects from JFK assassination to children's books, all on Amazon. Check it out.
Wait, so the children are assassinating JFK?
Say again?
Are the children assassinating JFK?
No, allegedly this guy, but it wasn't. But you can learn all about that if you read the book.
Well, that'd just be a new plot for new books. So.
Well, it could be.
That's just one of the theories. Just one.
Yeah. All you need to know is that Lee Oswald didn't do it, and that means somebody else did.
From
so it could have been the children.
It could have been the children.
Several on top of each other with a really long coat, so people only thought it was one person.
That's the one, yeah, standing behind a bush.
There you go. How you doing, Russ? Long time no see.
Yeah, good to see you again. Thanks for having me on. My name's Russ Leach. I'm a comic book artist from the UK. Like Glenn, I had a long career in doing other stuff like design and coding and all kinds of things. 2010, started doing comic books, which is my first love. And I managed to work on Doctor Who, Batman, stuff for Marvel, Ben 10, a whole bunch of independent books. And I have my own creation, Only Death Can Save Us, which is coming up for its 3rd iteration now. That's 3 graphic novels. But the thing I'm into at the moment is Cull, because he's public domain, even though I can't put his name on the front cover of the books we do because of copyright issues. But what we have is the first original Sword and Sorcery story by Robert E. Howard, which has been adapted by Arrow Comics' own Randy Zimmerman. And that's the project we're on, or currently on, because it's coming to its last day. Literally today is the last day of the campaign that you can pick up the book. And then that's going out to Brazil. It's going to be translated into Portuguese. And then we're going to have a special black and white edition. The kind of work that goes into there, you'll be talking to Dave Brink, one of your other guests, about, because it's all through Critical Blast. Yeah, so I've been around, done some stuff, got some good stuff on the board right now, and you can find out all about that at my website, russleach.com, where you can sign up for the email list.
All right, very nice.
Hi.
Dave.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Dave.
Right. So, okay, my name is Dave Brink. I'm from the Netherlands. I've been making comics since I was a teenager. I wanted to work for Marvel, those dreams. But I took it on seriously 10 years back. I started genuine comics seriously. and I've been making American style comics since. So we're making superhero comics. This is one of our titles called Perfect 10. We're working on the 5th issue right now. I'm so fortunate to be working with fantastic talents like Paul Rodriguez, who has worked for Marvel, DC, and right now we are crowdfunding a special edition, a artist edition, to celebrate Paul Rodriguez's fantastic art. It's a 130-page book. It's hardcover. It's published through Critical Blast. They do everything, and it will be fantastic. So, so thank you for having me, guys. Awesome,
right, cool. And another non over the seas person.
I'm the problem.
No, Mark is the problem.
Yeah, I'm. My name is Wells Thompson. I'm a comic writer and editor out of Chicago, and yeah, I break the mold a little bit. I woke up early for me to be here, but I was excited to get to join the panel. So no complaints at all. I've written a variety of comic books from all ages sci-fi to action horror. Currently, I'm working on a slice of life erotica called Smut. We have 3 days left to fund it, or it's already funded. It's doing very well, but we have some stretch goals to break, and I'd like to see it do even better. All
right, very cool, very cool. So, gentlemen, I got some questions for everybody as usual. You know, so you know, I didn't set up anything too hard. Maybe I'll switch gears a little bit later on. But you know, for now, I'm gonna softball everybody with some easy ones. So we'll start with this one. And Wells, I mean, you can answer this one however you can, right? Because I primarily gave these for the guys overseas. But gentlemen, what are the biggest differences between British and European fans? Like, what do you guys see that are different, right? Because obviously there are differences, you know, between the American fans and the British and the European and the EU fans. You know, what do you guys see that is different, you know? So let's start with Russ.
Most of the stuff I've done, indie-wise at least, has been American format. In fact, even down to the book that I've just done, the Robert E. Howard book, 90% of my consumers, my clients, my customers, my readers are American. So it's difficult to know completely. I think maybe formats, sizes, European and British consumers are more likely to appreciate a different format of presentation. But other than that, it just comes down to how keen they are for the work. And I think I see a lot of requirement for consistent, good, solid storytelling, and that's what people really want, instead of the tripe they're being handed by the mainstream comics or by corporate comics currently. There you go.
All right, that's fair.
Short and sweet.
Dave, what are your thoughts?
I don't know if I know specific British books. What British books? What the format is? A specific British format. I don't know. I'm from the Netherlands, right? So we have these European albums here. They are like bigger, like A4 format, and they come out once per year, maybe once per 2 years. It's often done by the same team, very small teams. They often tell one singular story, so people are willing to wait longer for the next album, right?
Right.
And it's mostly like fantasy, science fiction stuff like that. Not like the superhero stuff that I personally make. My books are very traditionally American. But so the difference between that and the European style, that's definitely there. Yes. In frequency, but also format.
Now, just out of curiosity, I mean, you know, being from the Netherlands, right? I mean, I have a slight idea of the types of books that have come out of there. So, how do your countrymen look at your books, which are like traditional superhero comic books, as opposed to what normally comes out of the Netherlands? Like, how are they looking at that? They're like, they're like, why are you doing this? And like,
Yeah, there aren't many Dutch like creators that do what I do. Most of them
Mhm.
follow the like the other traditional routes. So really read American style books. That I'm I'm thinking I'm the only one that really
Mhm.
does what I do. So I do stand out at conventions, right? JD
Right.
Comics, people know it. Um, and generally people like it, but it's a completely different audience. So when I go to conventions, there's a very niche audience for these kind of books, and most people. So most of my customers also love the American books. So that's
Mhm.
where I draw most of my audience from, right? So
Mhm.
there is some overlap between audiences.
All right, cool.
Still,
Yeah. No, I just find it really interesting. So, Wells, I know this is outside of your wheelhouse.
I mean,
So,
I find people across the pond, by which, of course, I mean Lake Michigan, to be lovely. No, I mean, from my perspective, I do have a surprising number of international backers,
Mhm.
and they seem to really appreciate the work. I think the Kickstarter format being as kind of slow as it is, everything is very methodical. You generally aren't getting more than 2 issues out in a year of the same book, if that. So I think it does lend itself to an audience that's a little bit more patient, as Russ was saying. But all that to say, the biggest difference I notice is that they prefer not to spend like €20 on shipping and just get the digital instead.
Right. That's fair.
Which is perfectly reasonable. We do everything we can to, like, if people are willing to spend the money, we usually package some extras, we sign the books, we make sure it's worth their while. But yeah, I can't blame anyone for choosing the digital option in those circumstances.
Yeah, we need a critical blast guy in the UK and Britain. I mean, in the UK and EU. Yeah, we need that guy.
That definitely helped us on the Shadow Kingdom. Like I say, I would say a good 85% of our customers were American or Canadian, but the rest were UK and Europe, and so I'm printing a portion of the book here, and it just meant that we could cut down on postage costs.
Right.
So having
I
a dual center approach to printing definitely makes a difference.
Definitely. Glenn, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I try not to be. Some people might think you're being awkward, but I'm trying to. I sort of get into. Apart from rambling, I'm finding myself a little too old to be compromised. I produced my book A4.
Right.
Because I'm an artist, and I think the art is the first thing, obviously, that you see, and this, especially this, because there's no dialogue in it. There's a few sound effects, but there's no dialogue. So I sort of refuse to compromise to produce my books in what we'll call the American size, because they're way too small for me. Even this book that I wrote about my trip to Easter Island is a big format book because it's full of photographs. And the photographs of those statues are amazing. So why would you want to produce it, this size, which I don't like? This is my book, but this is an American size. It's way too small. It's full of photographs, great photographs and artwork. So I try not to let myself be compromised. I'm currently doing a book about the Second World War story, and I'm doing it A4. And if I don't make $1 million, then I won't make $1 million. I just refuse to compromise on it. I don't like it. No, I don't refuse. If somebody big comes in and says they'll take it, then they'll take it. But
sorry, Glenn, I was about to say I can appreciate where you're coming from that.
I
mean, we did change some format on the latest book because we wanted a wider audience.
I understand that, yeah.
But now that we've got people's attention, when we go to the Atlantean, which is the further adventures of Cullen Brawl, written by Randy Zimmerman and several other writers we've got on hand, that will be A4, so like magazine size, this kind of size, this kind of size.
Yeah.
There. This is great, by the way. This is great. You should get this if you can. It's nothing to do with me. It's just a great book. So if you could go into that size, and we're going to go to that full 48 pages black and white magazine size, like the old Savage Sword of Conan. So it comes down to, it does sometimes come down to just like, what do you want to portray? What do you want to get out there? And like I was saying earlier, I'm not sure that fans are that different. It does come down to presentation, I think, as far as whether it's a hardback or a softback or whatever, and you've got other things to deal with. But the fans themselves, people who want the work, people who want to see your content, I don't think there's much difference at all, to be honest.
Well,
because they're just after good quality work.
I made a mistake. I put this out in hardback with the film, the documentary film, the DVD, and I don't know why, but I just produced it myself. I should have got in touch with Critical Blast to put it over in America, and I think it would have sold a lot more, which I'm still looking at doing. But I'm tied up with a publisher, you see, a real publisher. Yeah. So that may or may not happen, you see. So I've shot myself in the foot there. But anyway, so what I'm doing with this isn't out yet. This is a mock-up I've made. This is A4, and if you reduce it to American size, the artwork is done to A4. It won't reproduce. It won't shrink.
It'll leave you a lot on the top and bottom.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm too old to be. It's probably a bad attitude, but I'm an old guy, so I've got a bad attitude about most things. I just think that we should push things. We should don't let your art be compromised by having certain formats. Do your artwork. Just think big. Think big. That's what
fair.
I think.
That's fair. I mean, look, we've had Marvel. A number of the companies been experimenting with basically magazine size since the 70s. So I mean, it's not anything unusual for us. It's just the fans prefer the comic side because it fits in the bags and it goes in the box. That's the only reason they like it.
I don't know how much of that was down to the collector's market, though, rather than people who enjoy the books.
Right. Well,
but it's also to do with the printing press, isn't it? How many pages can you get on the press? It's to do with that as well. It's all the wrong things seem to influence what we are trying to do. We're trying to make great art. And the bigger it is, the better. And then, of course, there's postage and all that kind of thing. But
yeah. I mean, the printing press thing. That's an older situation. In current day, that's not even a consideration because that's back in the day when you had to do gang printing and all that stuff. If you're going offset, then maybe it's an issue. You're gang printing a bunch of books. But if you're like just doing POD, that's you don't even have to think about that. All right, Mark, you have any thoughts?
Well, I always say that the differences in the audience is the humor. I can always say because if you guys remember, Glenn and Russ, we talked about. I always talk about whenever I talk to anybody in the United Kingdom, hello.
Oh yeah. Do you know that series sells the best in Germany? And considering, and considering the content, as you know, you'd think they wouldn't be happy with it. But that series sells best in Germany.
But that I find that amazing, Glenn. I find it because if you think about it, it's a very English language orientated comedy. Yeah. So that they distinguish people from different parts of Europe by their accents, not by the words that they speak. Yeah. So for them all to be speaking German is just really weird.
Well, there's that great part while we're on it. There's that great bit where the French resistance girl is taking out some British pilots, and she says to the guy, we shall be ready at 7 o'clock. And I will tell the Britishers. And this British guy comes up and she says, I say, chaps, you've got to be ready at 7 o'clock. And it's just
the rest of Europe are now dialing in to see us do this. They go, well, what are they talking about? It's a very unique British thing.
It's just stereotypes, and it's absolute genius.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
you know, and
people should. It's a successful use of stereotypes.
Yeah,
very, very
and,
well
and
done.
people and the world, sadly, you know, being a bit more serious, has lost its sense of humor these days, as we all know. A joke is a joke.
Mm. This is
you
very
know, chill out.
Yep, relax.
Yeah,
all right,
relax.
That's cool.
It's just a bit of fun.
Yep. Yeah, my opinion is the same as well. As like, you know, a lot of the European fans I have, they're picking up a lot of PDFs and that sort of thing. But I do get a lot of physical backers as well. And yeah, I tend to try to throw in a bunch of extras for them. But it would be great if we could find our critical blast on that side of the world, because it would be like just so much easier. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, when I was using Lightning Source as a printer, they actually had a service where they would ship it from any place they had a station, and they had stations in Britain and the EU. So if you did it in those areas, you didn't have to pay, I guess, what is it, the VAT?
Yeah, VAT, yeah.
Right? And you so since they printed it in the actual country, you didn't have to pay that portion, and they delivered it, you know, directly to the fans for us, which was pretty cool. The only problem is I just don't like their printing. So
that's a good reason.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Great service, you know, but that printing part of it, I was just like, I just couldn't jive with it, which is unfortunate because, like I said, that portion of it, and they got stations all over the place. Brazil, Colombia, like I said, the EU, and I think it's in several portions of the EU. Like they have one in France, and I think they have one in Germany, and then they have another one in the UK, and you know, and they might have another station in Japan. So they have these printing places all over the world, and they'll ship direct from those places. So it made it a lot more economical for, you know, your local fans. But,
so for the collector market, though, if it's the same item being printed in different places, which would be considered the first printing, second printing variant, and all that other fun stuff?
Well, it's POD, man. There is no collector market in that one. I mean, the only thing you can do to make it collectible is limit how many you print. Right. So the only thing I could tell you is, like, you know, with Oswald Chronicles, like there's certain issues. There's only 250 being printed. It doesn't matter. Like I could print like a first batch of 100 in one spot and then another batch 50, but there's always only going to be 250. You understand? So that's something I was doing. So.
I think if you limit it by content, so for instance, we have first printing in the UK and first printing in the US for over probably 300 books, and those 300 books are never going to be reprinted ever again.
Right.
So that gives the crowdfunding, gives the person that's backing it, that's an early adopter, it gives them something unique. It gives them something that nobody else can get again.
It's never going to be
right.
Sorry, it's never going to be printed again until he gets an order for 10,000.
Yeah. Well,
we'll put a new cover on.
That's the thing is, you put a new cover on. I'll be taking some pages out for the retail version, so people don't get as much in the retail version as they got in the early, in the crowdfund version, and that means that people get something special. You know, that's never going to be done again. So,
yeah, I say the same thing. It's like the next time you see the book, I will be reprinting it, but it's going to be different. You know, like I'm doing black and white for those limited editions at black and white. The next time you see it, it'll probably be in color, but it's going to be an unlimited edition. Yeah. So that's how I would do that. But Mark, you're up. What's your question, sir?
So this is something that's come up recently. The question of the fan and the fan ownership of a property, because we just had Star Wars Day yesterday, and as we all know, the fans are rabid in certain things. So my question to the panel is, how much does the fans do they have any ownership at all? Should they have any ownership? And if they do, what's the percentage?
Okay.
I would say no. We have this thing with our football, don't we, Russ? I know you don't follow football too much, but the fans think they own the club. Well, they don't. The guy who owns the club owns the club.
Right.
Right. And I'm sorry. I know we can't. I know we need the fans, but they don't. No, they don't own it. No. That's my opinion.
So you think they have no? So with your works, if you did something and the fans is sold massively, and the fans like, well, we want to see this. You're like, no, I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. No compromise.
I think there's two ways of looking at that. First of all, Glenn's absolutely right on the football analogy. It's like you just come to watch. Okay, yes, you pay the money, but you come to watch. The reason you come to watch is because they're providing you with the thing you want to come and watch. Okay. Yeah. However, don't turn around and say because they didn't like it that they're dirty, rotten bigots, and that we should, if you don't like our football, don't come and watch it. All right, because that is just a really bad marketing scheme. It's really, really bad. I don't like Star Wars. For me, gives me just this big meh. I'm not interested in it anymore. Okay, I'm old. I'm a Gen Xer. My Star Wars was way back. It doesn't mean that what I'm looking at doesn't entertain people. I just don't like it. I thought they ruined it. That's a personal opinion. I'm allowed to have that opinion as a fan. That doesn't make me a nasty person. Okay? I just don't like it anymore. And people are allowed to have opinions about the work that they're provided with. And now, just because they have opinions doesn't mean that the people that are making the work should change it. The ownership doesn't change. However, that being said, they shouldn't. There is no such thing as a toxic fan. I don't believe it, because those people made the IPs, the brands, the content. They made it what it is by turning up and consuming it. And if they have an opinion, they have their right to that opinion. Doesn't mean you got to listen to it, but you certainly shouldn't be disrespectful of it.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Well, the comics that I make, the stories that I write, the characters that I create are, of course, mine. But there is this element that I feel that part of them is no longer mine, because so many people like these books. They talk about these books. They send me fan art, which is fantastic. But it also gives me this responsibility. I'm like the custodian. That's the right word.
Yes.
For these stories, I have to make sure that the stories remain quality. And the good thing is that people who follow me from the beginning, I basically make the comics that I want to read. Right. So the comics that I like. So my audience likes what I like. So they're in little danger that I would change things drastically. So they keep following me. I keep making them. I do listen to people when they offer like things or things they perhaps won't like. But ultimately, this is my thing. But I do feel responsible that it has to be for the audience also, right?
All right, cool. Wells, what are your thoughts?
Probably a bigger, more complicated topic than I can necessarily break down in like a 2-minute answer. But I think that
you have 3 minutes. You can speak longer.
Oh, wonderful! I think there's a shared responsibility between creator and reader for sure. A story that I write and hold on to and keep in a shelf for the rest of its life is worthless. It's meaningless. So the story only really exists when it's between the creator and the audience. So there is that sense of like shared ownership in that regard. That said, if you're coming to any creator owned in particular. I'm not going to get into like really big franchises or anything. Creator owned in particular, if you're coming to me for a comic, this is not a fast food restaurant where you get to pick and choose. I'm a 5-star chef. I am here to provide you with an experience that may or may not cater to your exact palate, but I can guarantee a certain level of general quality. That said, it is incumbent on both of us. I need to be open to criticism, and you need to be open to not harassing my artist for not being quick enough for turning around and creating the thing that you like. Have to get high on both sides, and to go back to the football analogy, just as important not to burn down the stadium as it is to not abuse your fans and hike up prices and make them feel worthless and out of the club. So it's a shared responsibility between the two groups for sure.
I love that. Don't burn down the stadium. I think it's good. Yeah, that's effectively what's been going on in entertainment recently, isn't it? People have been burning bridges both ways, and it's of no use whatsoever. If you decide, I agree with Dave. You know, there's like you are a custodian of these stories, okay? And even more so if you're not the original creator and you've been a writer who's been tasked to work on something that predates your input, for you to decide arbitrarily that you don't want the people that have been reading that brand or IP or watching that brand or IP up until this point, you want to change the audience or you don't like it in some way, that's burning bridges. That's not a good way forward.
But don't forget there's a difference between being the custodian and the owner. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like with Hatch. He lives in a hatch. That's why it's called Hatch. And the first thing that people say to me is, "Oh, you never see him in these hatch. You see him go in, but you never see him in there." Well, you never will. That's the point. You know, that's one of those things. You're going to have to imagine what he's doing down there. What's
when it's
down
$1
there.
billion brand, mate, and you're dead, and somebody else has bought it back.
But
that'll be the story.
But if Pixar rang me up this afternoon and said we'll give you $4 million for it, and you can never even say his name again, I'd take the money. So
fair enough.
You know, but it's like I said,
wrong with being a businessman.
Nothing. Well, I can't eat my idea, but I can get some food with $4 million. The thing is that, like I said, the difference is that there's a difference between the words custodian and owner. You know, and fans have a say. Fans are great. We need the fans and all that, but they shouldn't dictate the way it goes. I don't think. Because they're not writers. If they were writers, they make up their own character, and I'll tell them what to do with it. So that's the way I feel. That's why I'm not a millionaire, because I don't do it for the money.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I thought you were going to say that's why you're not a millionaire, because you tell people what you think.
Probably got something to do with it.
I know. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not a millionaire.
Yeah.
Nobody listens to me anyway, so I can say what I like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for I know for myself, like when it comes down to my stories and my writing and the fans, my stuff is already preset, and it tends to be pre-written like months, if not years in advance. So it's like there is no say, right? Like I'm not going to change the story that's already preset. You know, just because someone wants me to insert character X or do thing Y, and it's just like it's already preset. I'm like, the story's already written. Half the time they're already illustrated. So it's like, you know, this is maybe some other dimension. JD would have done that, but that's not this one. So.
So what about $4 million, JD? Will $4 million, like, all right, we got to change everything? You're like, okay, yes, sir, or no?
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
Maybe. Maybe for 10 seconds,
Yeah, probably. But it's just like, you know, but it's one of those things where it's just like, I gotta really consider it, you know. You know, I mean, everything has a dollar, everything has a price tag.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if $4 million would be my price tag. Because I know what a house costs across the street. It's my place. Living in New York City, houses here are really expensive.
That's fair.
And after taxes,
you could always go someplace else, JD. You don't have to stay there.
I like New York. I'm sorry. I mean, I
like New York too.
Yeah. See, the only thing is that I would just travel a lot more. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, if I had enough money, I would just become a world citizen. I'd be all over the place. You know, I'd be 2 months out of the year. I would be probably spring and fall in New York, and then the rest of the year I'd be someplace else.
Yeah. The 2 days of spring that you get in New York, you'd be in New York.
Unfortunately, yeah. Well, this year lasted we had about 2 weeks of it. So.
Well, we've had our summer. It was sunny on Friday, so that's it.
That's right.
That's just finished.
I think it was sunny this morning as well.
Yeah.
Not an Indian summer.
Yeah, that's a big deal for you guys. You got like, we saw the sun. That's great. So Mark, what are your thoughts on your own question?
Charles Schultz, great creator of Peanuts, always said Charlie Brown will never kick the ball. And he's never kicked the ball, no matter how badly the fans wanted it. Yeah. So I think there is some the creator has the idea, and they should stick with that idea. And if that's it, but then at the same time, the fans should say what they want, but not necessarily be toxic about if they don't get what they want.
Yeah. They should say what they want, but not necessarily get it.
Politeness is just something that common decency is something that should be shared amongst everybody. Unfortunately, there's not enough of that about.
Well, it's in that dark room with humor, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, too true. I mean, yeah, there are not enough people treating people the way they want to be treated these days, right? Not enough of that. You know.
Do you guys remember the whole Sonic thing? The animated movie that they made, the live action animated movie that the fans did say, hey, this looks like crap, and the studio did change it, and then it made a big bag of money. So there is a little bit credence to that. The fans
I think absolutely, like, being open to criticism is important. No one is above reproach. And like this is the biggest problem I find as an editor from like a creative perspective, is just like everyone's very precious with their work. No one wants to make any kind of minor change to character design or just overall kind of change the vision in any way, even when it's obvious that like, hey, this doesn't really work. I think as creatives, pretty much everyone could benefit from being willing to hear when someone says this isn't working. Not necessarily take their advice on what to change to make it work. That's up to you. But when someone tells you that this really doesn't work, this looks bad, this isn't communicating what you want it to communicate, it is incumbent on you to believe them.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Before we roll into the campaigns, I got another question. Who are you guys? Who are your comic book heroes, or like your comic book hero? Like who's that guy? Who's that one person that you look up to? You're like, yeah, that's the one.
Creator-wise, creator.
Yes, creator-wise. Yes, creator-wise.
Well, I wrote a book about mine.
Fair enough.
So Glenn, since you brought up Jack, I saw a documentary recently, and they had a radio recording of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee discussing the whole ownership thing. And I thought that because it was them speaking to each other live recorded, it gave me a whole new perspective on the argument. So what is your thoughts on the argument about who created what?
This has been covered so many times. I think there's so many angles you can approach this. If you look at a comic called Challenges of the Unknown, which I believe came out in 1958-59, written and drawn by Jack Kirby, it's the Fantastic Four 4 years later. There's so many different angles you can come at. But I just don't. I don't want to bash anybody, but I don't think. I think the Fantastic Four and all that kind of thing would have probably come out at some point, but it wouldn't have been as good if Stan Lee wasn't involved. But I don't think that Stan Lee wrote them. He wrote the dialogue in the bubbles. He didn't write the stories, and that's the issue, I think, because it's clear when you see a piece of Jack Kirby artwork, original artwork, you can see the notes down the side, and when you read the dialogue, a lot of the time it's different. So the story is different. And John, and this is part of my proof as who did what. John Romita Sr., a big Marvel man, big Marvel person, he, in his words, one evening in the 60s, he took Stan Lee and Jack Kirby home because they all lived nearby. He took them home and he sat in his car and he says he listened to Stan Lee saying the Fantastic Four are going to do this, and he listened to Jack Kirby speaking at the same time saying the Fantastic Four were going to do this, and when the pages came in, it was Jack Kirby's story, and then Stan Lee dialogued it. So it depends on your interpretation of writing. What is writing? That's the key to me. And to me, as an artist, the writing is the story in the visual, is sequential art, and then the dialogue comes in afterwards. And the dialogue is the scenery. We don't need to know the guy's called Reed Richards. We need to see that he stretches. We don't need to know his name. His name could be anything. So any person who I could give you five here, let's say 10 pages of sequential art, just with no notes, and you all would write a different story in the bubbles, in the word balloons. So who's written it? Well, I've written it. You've dialogued it. That's my opinion.
There was this movie that, under similar circumstances, it was filmed back in the 80s, and the original script was lost. It was never finished. And then some guy bought the rights. They found it like in a warehouse, and they just had film, but they didn't know what the movie was, so they put it together as what they thought it would be like. Right. And they say it's probably a completely different movie, but they use the visuals of what was actually filmed back in the day. And they're like, this is a throwback to what it actually is. I forget the name of it. I think it's NYC Ninja or something like that. And it's like it's just some crazy movie. And you're watching it like, okay, this was made back then. But you can see how they're trying to use today's logic to put the story together. And the interviews are so interesting. They're like, we don't know what they're doing, but this is what we got. We'll put it together.
Yeah.
Everything is an art. Absolutely.
Well, as I was saying earlier, just before, not to bash anyone, Marvel Comics wouldn't have happened without Stan. And his words in those word balloons, I know they're a bit hokey and a bit crazy, but that's the way it was. And they're brilliant. He's brilliant. But in my opinion, I don't think he wrote the stories. He was the best salesman in the world. His dialogue was great. He pulled it all into his own little universe. And without it, it wouldn't have been the same. But he didn't write them.
So what do you guys think, Russ?
On Stan and Jack.
Like, is this the question now? Stan?
Well, we lost JD. I'm in charge. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. All right. Mark's in charge. Stan and Jack. Yeah. Well, I would have to defer to people who know more than me. And Glenn knows a lot more about this situation than I do. So I defer to his opinions on this. I do, much like Glenn was saying there, because he doesn't want to put anyone down. I do tire of certain people getting into camps and saying how terrible Stan Lee was, or Jack Kirby's just talking rubbish, and it's like, it's a collaborative process. When you work with a writer, it is a collaborative process. And it depends how much that writer puts down. If it's a very loose script, then when you create those pages, and let's face it, anyone who draws sequential art is a storyteller. That's the art form. It's not the illustration. The art form is telling a story well, which is why so many modern comics in corporate comics are quite dull, because that whole sort of studio aspect of where artists used to come up working with other artists and learning the trade. It just isn't there. There's a lot of reliance on 3D models and a lot of reliance on tracing images. Again, there's nothing wrong with the tool sets, just a reliance on it is the issue. And so a good sequential artist is a storyteller. They are a script creator in their own right. Oh my God! What happened to JD?
What's up, everybody? This is called a run-in. Okay, this is what you do when people talk smack about you on the internet. You show up at their house, you knock them out, and you take over their system. This is how you take it.
That's the fan taking over. The fan's taking over right now.
All right,
JD
this
is
is
a
what you do, baby. This is how you entertain the show. I heard last night there was going to be a British invasion, and I'm like, oh, I got to be here. I gotta throw the knuckles up, you know. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today?
Mr. Rosario, why don't you introduce yourself quickly?
I love that there was
Example of
the whole
a
thing was
great
British
writer.
invasion and you came in with a steel chair.
Perfect example of a great writer up there in the top corner, JD Calderon. Oh, sorry, no, JD Rosario.
Oh, Russ, I love you, brother. I want to go to MC. Are you going to be at MCM?
No, still not. One day I will.
Okay. I want to go. I want to hang out with you.
You're welcome to come over here and see me anytime you like.
brother.
I'll be
My
coming
brother.
over to the States at some point. So I know Glenn's coming over. But
Don't tease me.
it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration between writer and artist and sequential artists. The art form is sequential art, not illustration. So there's always that aspect. As far as Jack and Stan are concerned, Stan was my Uncle Stan. When I was a kid, Stan was this fantastic character that drew me in, that was in all the editorial pages. I know there was other people writing with him, but he created this environment that I loved, and that's what Glenn was talking about, was adhering to, was the fact that he was a great salesman. He bigged it all up. He created comics as it was, the whole age was down to him, really. And it's tough to take a side and batter either one of them.
Right.
But
there's no hate on either
you
one.
do have to give, but you do have to give Jack the props for what happened with the Fantastic Four, I think. So there you go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. He was a great carnival barker. He was a great salesman. And while Jack was holding up the building with the foundation, I felt Stan, he was out there doing his best to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you need that. You need that from both sides. Right. But
Dave, you want to jump in on that?
I want to say goodbye though to everybody. Give Calderon the show back. All right.
Get out of here.
Exciting. Get on the toes, folks. All right. Have a good show, everybody, and good luck with everybody's campaigns.
Thank you.
Cheers,
see you.
man.
Appreciate you.
That was Mr.
Bye-bye.
J. Rosario jumping in. But Dave, you want to throw your 2 cents?
About Jack and Stan, I don't know. I think a lot has been mentioned, but I think it was about the creator process. Who's the creator? Who does what? Right?
Yeah.
And I think the writing process in this is really, really important, because without the story, you just have a sketch, a design, and a name. But you don't have a character that's actually alive, right? For instance, we have people seem to love Deadpool, right? But why is Deadpool so popular? It's the personality. Mm-hmm. And Rob Liefeld, he did so without Rob Liefeld, there wouldn't be Deadpool. This is true, but he basically designed the character, and it were the writers who actually gave Deadpool the personality that he's now famous for. Without that, he probably would have been just one of the many mercenaries within the Marvel universe, right? So I think visuals, of course, it's a visual medium. The characters have to look fantastic, but without you have to feel the character. You have to feel that they have personalities, they have lives going on, they have things going on, and people talk about stories, and then you have an actual creation, and that's the most important aspect.
Wells, you want to bring it home?
Sure. I don't have much skin in the game. I didn't grow up on Marvel or DC. I have a lot of respect for what Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did, and I don't think you can necessarily underappreciate the power of a big personality, as you were saying, Uncle Stan. That people were drawn into Marvel because of Stan, and I think that his absence is going to leave just as big an impact on the industry as his presence did. As far as the storytelling goes, from a writer's perspective, and especially someone from a screenwriting perspective, someone who used to write short films and films and whatnot, everything can change. Everything can change up until the last second. And in comics, especially, the way the artist draws it, the way everything gets put down will change. The thing that you bring as a writer is the structure, is the overall shape of the story. And of course you write in the dialogue, but I think that's the most important thing and the least understood thing about writing is you're bringing the structure. So in that sense, yeah, they're Jack stories, 100%. That's my 2 cents about it.
Welcome back, Mr. JD Calderon. The show is now back to you.
Yeah, I managed to beat back the Huns, got them out the door.
Oh, and to answer your original question, Ram V is my is my personal hero in comics right now.
Okay, that's fair. It's funny is because you guys talk about Jack and Stan, right? That's like just like a few years before me, right? So my comic book hero, I would have to say, is Frank Miller, right? And that's, because I ran into him just as he started Daredevil, and I ran into him at Daredevil 168, and that was when he first started writing it. And for me, he's always been my hero when it comes down to comic books. And it's funny because he just released that Donald Duck or the Uncle Scrooge image, right, for a cover images that a lot of people are bagging on him, right? I know, Russ, not everyone's accepting of it, but I find it funny because it's just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. He's a little bit on the older side. We know he was sick for a long time. I don't know. He's lost maybe his motor control. He's just not doing the things he used to do. But here's the crazy thing about it is that I think on some level, Frank knows I'm going to do this type of artwork and people are going to start talking about it. And because of that, he's always front and center in everybody's minds. And despite the fact you can say, yeah, this isn't that great, everyone says, well, listen, if you really want to see Frank Miller at his peak, go look at Sin City, go look at his Daredevil run. Because for me, when I say Daredevil, I mean Daredevil, Elektra, any of that stuff he did at Marvel when it came down to Daredevil and Elektra, the stuff he did with Bill Sienkiewicz, and I'm losing the other artists, but any of that stuff I think is great. And I consider that like one body of work, whether it was the stuff he did with John Romita Jr. or Bill Sienkiewicz. I always thought that stuff was great. And I think, like I said, when he does stuff like that, I think people start talking about him, and people are always saying like, well, like I said, that's him now. It says, but if you really want to see his good stuff, go check out Sin City, go check out Daredevil. And I think in that way, he keeps himself relevant in that fashion. I don't know if he's playing that type of level, that 4D chess or not, but who knows? That's my thought on it. Maybe I'm being kind. Who knows? But Frank Miller definitely for me. So. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I always say this. My answer is Peter David. I love this guy. He was when he did the Hulk run. That was like I was a huge Hulk fan, and then he took that to the next level. And now that he's of failing health, I always try to mention that he has that GoFundMe because he needs some medical help, and he's just a really guy. After meeting him, he even elevated himself even further beyond just being a creator, because when I met him back in the 90s, he was one of the few people that people were bringing stacks and stacks of comic books to him to sign. He just signed everything, and he had a story to tell, and he was talking to all the fans, and it was something that was new to me as opposed to just running into a creator, they sign the book, hi, how's it going? You get like your few minutes to talk to. He would have great conversations, and of course he would have a giant line, but everybody who was on that line got their experience, and it was well worth the wait.
All right, cool. We're joined by Ed. What's up, Ed?
Ed.
Hello, Ed.
Introduce yourself.
Sorry, I'm really late. I think we had a time zone snafu somewhere. I'm really sorry. It's really embarrassing.
It's okay. It's not the first time, probably won't be the last. I mean, I've had other people, but please introduce yourself, Ed.
Hi everyone. I'm Ed. I write comics sometimes. I run a small company called SOV Comics. We do superhero comics, sci-fi comics, a few bits and pieces. Other than that, such as I've just done a noir comic, which was a lot of fun for the first time. I love telling stories. That's why I'm involved in comics. I've published about 30, 35 comics at this point, just to tell those stories and get some of those stories out into the world. And I'd like to echo, I've never met Peter David, but I'd like to echo Peter David there. Similar to you, but different. Spider-Man 2099, I just loved it. Absolutely adored it. And then he went ahead and picked it up. I'm not sure if he picked it up at the start and dropped it and then picked it up again, but he definitely did a newer run as well. Just absolutely loved it. I know this one's weird. I loved his Star Trek novels. They were just brilliant. They were so good. And in an industry, writing fan novels for things, you don't generally expect them to be good. And I ended up picking up one of them for reasons, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. This is absolutely brilliant. How he told his stories within the confines of what you're allowed to do in Star Trek was really, I really enjoyed that set of novels.
You mentioned the Star Trek novels at a convention. He was asked, what's the difference between, what's in canon, what doesn't really matter in the books? He goes, all that matters is that Paramount pays me to check.
I don't believe that for a moment, because I don't believe that such good work would come out of all that matters is Paramount pays me the check. To be honest, I think they are like really good sci-fi novels on their own. Forget Star Trek; they're just good sci-fi novels.
And I would take it from the accent. You're also across the pond. You're not in the same
I am
place.
indeed.
So now we have to have your opinion about Low Low. That's the topic. What are your thoughts about Low Low?
About what? Sorry.
The series Allo Allo.
Oh, Allo. What about it? It's ancient history.
What are your thoughts? Oh, it's ancient history to you.
It's very similar to all of the other things of its time, and obviously being English, I grew up around a lot of English people like to laugh. Believe it or not, I realise that we're deeply weird.
You're not sure.
Awkward individuals in general, but we like to laugh, and the reality is that Allo is very similar to in concept and in execution, in my opinion, to things like the Carry On films or the various other things that were going on in that time period that people enjoyed. So yeah, it's sort of to be honest, it's not. Maybe I'm being sinful here. I don't know. It's not more than and that existed. Okay, it's not one of my personal favorites. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
If you want good, really good British comedy, I look at some of the stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s, which is just fantastic. It's the not the 9 o'clock newses and the British Empires of the world and the Red Dwarfs indeed of the world that have my vote for British comedy.
That might be a generational thing.
It might be.
There's no doubt this man is of a younger vintage than us. But his excuse me, talking about you in the third person, Aaron. But his opinion on such wonders as Red Dwarf is entirely correct.
Of course. And they've not lost it either, because the most recent one, just the idea that they all come in through a cat flap to see the big king cat. Well, it means they're all prostrating themselves as they enter. It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Fair enough. All right.
Good luck,
Russ, please. What tell us about your campaign.
Right. Okay. The Shadow Kingdom. I met
Almost
Randy
10K,
of Arrow
that's nice.
Comics. Sorry, what'd you say, Dave?
I said almost 10K.
Yeah, it's well, we were up to 11,000. But when the campaign ended, there was a glitch with Stripe, and we lost some people.
Oh no!
So we've had to fight to get them back. So hopefully we can hit the 10K, because this is the last day today. Because we went back after the glitch, we were going to go straight to print, but because of the issue that happened, we kept the campaign open in storefront for another 2.5 weeks or so that we could get people back in, which we've done fairly successfully. So we're really happy with that. As I was saying, Randy Zimmerman is the guy who adapted the book from the original Robert E. Howard prose. He's a big Robert E. Howard fan. We both love Conan and Carl and Solomon Kane and what have you. And so it was something that we both wanted to do because it's now in public domain. So we've done this book originally, as we were talking about formats earlier, we were talking about it being in black and white, but we went for a kind of a Bronze Age colour format. So you get 80 pages of the graphic novel version of the Shadow Kingdom. You get the original prose from Robert E. Howard. You have a foreword by Razorfist, because he's a big Robert E. Howard fan. And then you get an outro from Randy himself as well. There's some additional concept art, because this is the starting point. So we've faithfully reproduced with the prose intact in the graphic novel element of this. And we're going to be moving on with the public domain character of Cull. And much like a Blaze did the Cimmerian in Europe, we're going to do the Atlantean, which is effectively Cull, and it's Cull and Brawl going out incognito looking for the rest of the Shadow Kingdom. The Shadow Kingdom is effectively code word for the serpent men that sit in the background and are overseers of the kingdoms of men, which is a bit like the current political we have here. We've got serpents in the background telling us what we should and shouldn't do. So it's a cracking book. The story is from, like I say, from the original Sword and Sorcery story by Robert E. Howard, and we've had great fun producing it, and we've had a really good response to the book so far.
Cool. Now, just out of curiosity, what type of frequency are you looking? Are you guys maybe looking to do these once a year, twice a year?
The Atlantean, we'd like to do it 4 times a year. To start us off, we're going to do the first Atlantean this year, and if I could get 3 in next year, I will. They will be 48-page black and white magazine size format.
Original stories.
Are all original stories, yeah. And we've
your
our
stories.
stories. We've even got Charles Santino, who used to work for Marvel on Conan, will be doing a short story for us as well.
All right, cool.
So with public domain, do you find that it's something that you saw something that happened in the past, and like, I have a story that I can tell using this as the jumping off point?
Yeah. But Robert E. Howard's works are an inspiration. They're certainly an inspiration to Randy. At the end of this book, it ties up nicely. It's one solid story. It's not a cliffhanger at the end, but it does lead to a point where it could take you elsewhere. So we're going on a road trip. So if you imagine Planet of the Apes or Logan's Run from back in the day, where you have this overarching story, but each time you go out, you have a different adventure. So that's what we're looking to do. I've loved this kind of stuff since I was a kid. I have bundles and bundles of old Savage Sword of Conan books on my shelves. So it was something that I wanted to do, and we went ahead and did it, and we're really keen to go out with the Atlantean now and move forward with it.
All right, cool. Daphne, she's controlling the board, so if she could bring up the next campaign.
Hi, Daphne.
Come on, Daphne, get on with it.
There we go. So,
Oh.
Dave,
Wow, that's a cool one.
talk to us. Yes, awesome book. Tell us about Perfect 10.
Sure. So this book is kind of special, right? Because Perfect 10 is a series that we're working on. We now have 4 books done. 5th book is in production, but this is something on the side. This is a artist edition published through Critical Blast. This was their like proposal to make this book, to put this book together. And it's basically the first book, so Perfect 10 book 1, but stretched out over 130 pages, because you can read along with the script. You get page layouts, you get to see the inked pages, plus we added the colored pages, and you can read the full story, right? And we added some pin-up stuff plus designs. So a lot of cool material. We started out with 84 pages, and we launched the campaign. And during the campaign, we upgraded it to 130 pages, because there was so much awesome stuff that I just wanted in there. So it's hardcover. It's bigger than a usual comic. So it's like full bleed. You can see the art like full bleed. Also the color work. And what else can I say? Oh really? Pau did some signatures, and these book plates will be added in some of these books. You can buy like versions with the book plates in it. And those will be rare, because Pau only signed a few, and that's that, right? Plus, you can also Pau is offering a few like commissions. There are like 5 commissions left of characters of any character you want. You can request. Pau will draw it for you. There are head sketches you can get, and there are still a few original pages from the first book, sequential pages available. I think 5 or something. You can get those also. And after this campaign is done, we already ran this through Fund My Comic, right? This is the second time that people can get it. But after this, it will go through retail for a much higher price. So this is the most like cheap version that you can get. So it's a fantastic book for a fantastic price. And after 15 days, printing will start. We just need to know how many books we need, and Critical Blast will take care of everything.
So don't say cheap version, say wallet-friendly version.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, wallet-friendly.
There you go. Because it's a quality work.
It's not a cheap book. It's a very, very cool, expensive book with a lot of fantastic artwork by one of the greatest artists and that I know. I'm so proud that I can work with Pau. He was one of my favorite artists for years, and for some reason I managed to get him to work with me, which is so awesome. I'm really proud of this, and I'd like to thank Critical Blast for giving me the opportunity to produce this book.
All right, cool. Now, as far as like frequency goes, I know you've been producing the book for a while. Like, are you looking to do like, twice a year, 3 times a year? Like, what are you looking to do in the future?
Well, this book is kind of a one-time thing for the title. But the regular series, we can do 1 book every 10 months. It's it takes a long time to make one issue. unfortunately, it is what it is. But we
Mhm.
produce other titles also. So every year we have like 3 new books
Okay.
from different
That's
titles,
cool.
and Perfect 10 is one of them.
Mhm. Gotcha. Now, when you produce the works for your artists, are you running full script, or are you running like something like Marvel style, where you like giving an outline, that sort of thing?
I tend to do full scripts, but I try to give the artist as much freedom as possible to
Mhm.
do their own thing, right? But I'm basically very very strict with sequence. I have specific sequences. They need to be so many pages. Every page is like cut up in specific panels. So it's
Right.
very strict in that regard. But beyond that, the artist can go nuts. I'm not like the camera position needs to be this. Sometimes I have like specific visual suggestions, and then I
Right.
make sketches, right? Um, but that's it. I want
Okay.
the artists to have fun, right? To bring their own like interpretation to the story.
Mhm. All right. Sounds good. I mean, it looks fantastic. Like, I've been looking at Powell's stuff for a minute, and this stuff looks great. So, and I think I bought the first 3 issues, I think, and a couple of the others, and I really, really enjoyed it. I got to be honest with you, I'm just waiting for you to put it all together in that one nice big thick hardcover. And then,
I know, me too, man.
That one again.
Looking forward to that. Yeah.
all right, cool. So let's see who Daphne has for us next.
Is Daphne there?
I don't know. I hope she is.
Daphne has gotten a snack.
Yeah, she went to go get a snack. Yeah, she was like, oh, oh, there we go.
Oh, it's me.
Yes, Ed.
So this is Empowered Outsiders #2. Actually, it's funny you say that about the all-in-one big thick book. You know, it's never actually. You said that to me the first time I ever came on, and it's never actually left me. I've actually been putting together a plan for it. I've got a piece of paper here somewhere, with like, oh, here we go. Yeah, there we go. There is a piece of paper with how that works. It comes about 450 pages, and it's sort of anyway. This one, on the other hand, which is not so much of a pipe dream at this point, is I basically have 3 stories that each look at a different aspect of heroism. So in the first story, Vigilance is she's a rich girl who ends up with powers. She doesn't really want them, but sort of the life is forced upon her. We've got Drift here. Drift wants to be a hero desperately. Drift, I had an opportunity to tap into that slightly more comedic side of my writing. She wants to be a hero desperately. She's terrible at it. She keeps getting blown away by the wind because she is a density shifter. She can't control it very well, or she gets so heavy that she can't like lift her arms because she's not strong enough to lift her arms when she's that dense. She's absolutely terrible at being a hero, but her real life is absolutely fantastic. It's sort of this what do you do and what keeps you going out there and trying to be a hero when every time it's somewhere between life-threatening and just a complete humiliation. Her nemesis is a dude with a broken arm and his arm in a cast. Because basically she can't win against that guy. He beats her twice. So yeah, it's a very silly comic, but it is looking at what is heroism and what is that actually all about. And then we've got Lobo, and Lobo this is actually the second Lobo comic, although this is pretty standalone. He lost his last big fight, and he decided that he was going to need to go out and get help. And that's where this girl in green comes in. She's the help that he chooses to get hold of. And she is an empowered, unlike him. So he's sort of I don't like to invoke Batman because he's really not like Batman, but that sort of ilk as in no powers in a world of people with powers. So he's sort of looking for help. So yeah, it's sort of these three comics. It's 85 pages long, full color, as you can see. They're all done. It's ready for printing. 3 different artists with completely different styles. Ramad Wisnabruto, I can never say your name. I'm really sorry, Ramad. Did Vigilance for me. We're just scrolling through that now. I've been working with him for 10 years. It's absolutely brilliant. Love working with him. And the other guys who I'm not sure I'm going to have time to go through. So that is Empowered Outsiders Volume 2. It's 3 22-page stories, plus a little bit of extra material, which comes to 85 pages in total.
All right,
So,
cool.
because we're in today's day and universe, is everything interconnected?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've just been panicking a bit because I think I've made a mistake, and I'm trying to figure out how all my comics can accurately fit in a timeline. I might have to retcon something. I think I've made a small mistake, but yeah, all of the empowered comics, the superhero comics that I write, they are all interconnected. Different villains appear in across different places. The villain in Vigilance, for example, is the same villain as a villain from a previous comic. Again, it is a standalone comic. You don't need to know about that, but there's a little nod, a little Easter egg for anyone who does know. So yeah, from the Kickstarter, you can get hold of all of the previous comics as well as this one, if you want to get involved in the universe. Or obviously, this one is available. We're nicely funded and print run ready as soon as we're done. Similar to I forget who it was earlier, to be honest. As soon as we know how many we're printing. We're good.
All right, nice, very nice. I mean, and you also do role-playing games, right?
I do.
Yeah. So okay, so do you incorporate like these stories into the role-playing games, or vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently did my 5th anniversary edition of this, and this has a bunch of timeline entries for the comics that already exist.
Okay, cool, nice.
So yeah, the role-playing game's been around for 5 years. Each of these characters that are featured in the comics, they tend to be the ones that we like to use as demo characters at conventions and such. So people can sort of get into the world, and then if they want to know more about the world, they can sort of, oh, you played Blue Shift. Okay, cool. That's our speedster. Yeah, we got these couple of comics. You can go ahead and find out a bit more about the world through that character's eyes, who you've sort of got to know while sitting down and role-playing.
Nice. Now, do you find that as a good lead-in? I mean, obviously, you guys are doing it. So, I mean, do you find successful lead-in?
I mean, it can be. I'm not here for the money. The money is so that I can make more comics. That's all the money's about. And for me, if you like my work, I hope you'll get hold of it. And I'm not trying to charge the earth. I'm just charging what I need to print it, and then a little bit more to try and cover the artwork. That's what it's all about for me. So in terms of sales, yeah, some people like it, some people don't. I don't really push really hard. I'm just like, no, if you want to know more, it's here. Yeah, I'm not a marketing person. Shrug.
Gotcha. Listen, I know all about that. Not in it for the money, because all the money I get, I just give it right back to the artist.
Yeah, it goes straight back into the next. So everything that we're getting from the project will go straight back into the next book. That's what it's about.
All right.
So
cool.
when you make a role-playing game, is it more of an open world as opposed to the comic book world, or is it you kind of have to intertwine it somehow?
So the way that I look at it is, imagine it like a mansion, right? The universe itself is a mansion, right? So the role-playing game gives you the front door key, right? You can unlock the door, walk inside, go anywhere you like in the entire mansion. You may or may not go to any specific room that is involved in one of the comics or not. The comics are more like looking in through a window on the 3rd floor in the East Wing, where no one's really thought about it. You can see that moment, that snapshot in time, that event that happened. And if you never encounter it in the role-playing game, that's no big deal. And if you do encounter it in the role-playing game and you retell it, then I'm guessing you're rearranging the furniture in the room.
All right. Cool. Wells.
Yes,
We have Smut.
we do have Smut. Absolutely. Smut is the first part of a 3-part miniseries about friendship and sex and trust and communication and relationships. This first issue is about a personal trainer who's trying to exercise a little bit of self-restraint and not sleep with a guy right away, even though she really, really wants to. Given the nature of the comic, you can probably tell how it's going to end up, but it's a very character-focused, not safe for work slice of life comedy. Drawn by the immensely talented Bianca Milanez, who is a Brazilian artist living in Portugal, and co-written by me and my wife.
Cool. So what was the inspiration for this story? Who wanted to sleep with this person they didn't get a chance to sleep with and they then slept with them? Well, what happened?
Everyone.
I think it was equal parts awe at incredible storytellers tackling sex with maturity and really saying something about the subject in meaningful ways, like Stepan Seljic with Sunstone, Tim Seeley with Money Shot, Chip Zdarsky with Sex Criminals, things like that, and frustration with the kind of not safe for work infrastructure of Kickstarter, how so much of it is pretty hollow, and especially when I started writing this a year or two ago, really it felt like you could just, it didn't matter what the book was, you just threw a not safe for work cover on it because it got attention, and it felt very demeaning to the characters. It felt really like superfluous and gratuitous in a lot of ways. And I wanted to make a book that embraced not safe for work, but did so in a way that was mature and said something about the characters and said something about the topic. And that, it gives people what they want, but it also gives people what they need. It's ultimately a character-driven story that you're going to stick around for the characters, even if you come to see a little bit of skin.
One thing I always find interesting is whenever there's a husband and wife team. So how does that work when you're creating? Is it since you're together all the time? Is it you're creating all the time? Or is it, all right, let's just put that aside?
Oh, no.
Other stuff? How does that work?
Hard limits on when we're talking about work and when we're talking about life. Most of the time when I go to write, I do so alone. I leave the house, I go to a coffee shop where I can't be bothered. I put on headphones so I can focus. I have 5 cats. I cannot afford to be in my house and be distracted all the time while I'm trying to write. I'll never get anything done. But yeah, when I invited my wife to work on this book with me, she was really gracious about it and has been an incredible collaborative partner. She had a lot to say about the characters, a lot to say about the story, and really, especially as the stories go on, has more and more influence. I'd say this first one is like 80% me, 20% her. The next one is 50-50, and number 3 is 80% her, 20% me. So we got to experiment in a lot of different ways in that regard. But yeah, the overall kind of theme of the story is communication and trust in relationships. And so working with my wife was sort of my way of putting where my mouth is, and saying, look, I'm not blowing smoke. Like, it's important in all aspects of life. And if it wasn't, we would have killed each other trying to make this book.
So who needs therapy? Just write a comic together.
Exactly. Yeah. No, go get therapy. Go to therapy. It's important. But also write a comic together. It's very it's very enlightening.
All right, cool. So I saw it was a 3-issue limited series.
3-issue limited series. I'm hoping to get the plan is issue 1 is obviously being drawn right now. Issue 2 is hopefully going to be coming out later this year. Issue 3 early next year, and then sometime in the summer or fall of next year we'll do the trade.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Where did you find your artist?
Twitter, of all places. Social media is where I go for most of my collaborative efforts. Just because I don't have the most extensive personal network, which is a way of saying that I am an acquired taste of a person. But through social media, I'm able to reach out to artists that really impress me and sort of get my ideas across without necessarily having to meet them in real life. And I don't even know where I would begin to do that. So especially for like Bianca, like I said, lives in Portugal. 0% chance we would ever run into each other at a convention or anything. So it's been a lifesaver in that regard, and a life ruiner in many others. I don't recommend Twitter for the faint of heart, but really good for the collaborative process.
Okay. So speaking of conventions, real people, how was C2E2? Did you go?
I went for Saturday. I networked harder than I've ever networked before, met a lot of editors, met a lot of artists and writers, and almost everyone universally said it was their best show all year, the best C2E2 in years. I'm really excited to hopefully get to actually set up an artist alley there in the future. That would be great.
All right, cool. Well, listen, I mean, you're doing well. I mean, obviously, smut sells. So
Absolutely, it does. Unlike Ed, I am in it for the money. No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to. I was motivated because I felt that I had a lot to say about the subject, not just in a sort of limited aesthetic kind of way. And I think people are hungry for that, and I think that's starting to show. But yeah, really excited to be able to get this book made and out there, and really excited to see the reception I've been getting from people. We have everything for all strokes. If you want to get in at the digital tier, it's a low barrier to entry. If you want to pick up every cover that we have and every add-on that we have a $100 everything tier that gives you 25% off everything. So we're willing to meet you where you're at for sure. Right, we just want to get the story out there as much as possible.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Looking good. Glenn.
Yeah.
What do we got here, sir? What do we got here?
This is the latest edition, number 15 of Comics Unlimited, which is my magazine about comics. It's generally 100 pages. This one's a bit less. This cover we're looking at is from a pencil drawing by Mr. Russ Leach, who is here. I coloured it, and he was very gracious and let me use his drawing for the cover, because this was going to be the original cover, wasn't it, Russ? But
it was one of the versions of the cover, and this is in the book under the prose section, right. And then an inked version of it is in the back. Yeah,
but you decided to do the Bronze Age colouring, didn't you? So you didn't go with that cover. So I thought, well, the drawing's great, so it's too good to waste. So I asked Russ, and he said, yeah, and that's the cover of Comics Unlimited. But Comics Unlimited is a magazine, comes out every couple of months or so, and it just covers, comics. We talk about artists, we show artwork. It's a really, really in-depth magazine. I'm biased, but I would urge people to check it out.
Cool. Now, you want to hear something crazy? I had ordered now. I can just order this directly from Amazon anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think I made a mistake. I ordered from the UK Amazon site, and they sent it to me, and then they sent it back. And I was like,
it's on .com, so you should that somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So, I mean, how long have you been doing the magazine?
It's probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. It's not that long. This one, I previously worked on a magazine called Crikey, which was about British comics. That was back in the aughts. And that what happened with that particular magazine was really unfortunate, because it was a 52-page black and white initially. And I got lots of subscriptions, 300 or 400 subscriptions. It was doing well in Forbidden Planet and other places. And I came to a point where I was either going to move up a step or stop publishing. So I went into Borders, but I had to, let me backtrack. It was a 52-page black and white bi-monthly. And I decided to put it into Borders. And I was informed by them that it would require being monthly, 84 pages in full color. So I can adapt to a challenge. So I produced that and I put it into Borders, and the subscriptions went up, the sales went up. It was doing really well. And then when the second issue went into Borders died. And I lost a lot of money. I lost my stock, didn't get my stock back from Borders. I didn't get any financial returns from it. And then I had another decision to make, whether it was to go back to cease doing it or go back to doing a 52-page black and white. So I did that to honor the subscriptions, but I closed it after issue 16 because it couldn't go anywhere, because I don't know whether you know this, but it cost me £2,000 just to put it into Borders without selling one, just to have their guys put it on the shelf. It cost me £2,000. And all the other places I could have put it were more, and I wasn't going to pay that. So it cost a lot of money because it was the printed. It cost me, basically, the first issue into Borders cost me £5,000 before I sold a copy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then but it did okay. The money was coming back, but for this, like I said, for the second issue that went into Borders, only a few days after it went in, Borders just collapsed. I got a phone call. I shot down to Borders. Everything was empty. All the books had gone, all the records, DVDs or whatever. And the issue of Crikey magazine had gone. And then I had so that really stung. You can imagine I was down a few £1,000. That really stung. But you know what it's like. This stuff gets in your blood. And I thought, well, I'll do a different magazine. I'll broaden it out. Rather than doing British comics, I'd do Comics Unlimited. All comics. And it's doing well. It's okay. But I'm really reluctant. I'd love to put it into a big store chain, but it's once bitten, isn't it? Twice shy. So we just put it out. But there's all the in fact, that one there, number 12. I had the original artwork there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I work, some call it traditionally, I'll call it classically. I do all my own lettering. This is all hand coloured with coloured inks. It's drawn in ink by me. It's on board. I like to work in that way. I don't use a computer for lettering, apart from that logo maybe, for publishing the magazine. But it's great. A couple of my covers on there, that Dalek and John Romita there, those are my covers. Yeah, so just starting to work on issue 16 now.
So where do you get your ideas and articles to run from?
Well, the main article writer is a guy called Tony Ingram. Russ has contributed several things. Randy Zimmerman has. Daphne's been in it a couple of times. So what we do is we got, it's like I always say, there's at least 300 years worth of comics history, 150 years over in Europe and 150 years over in America and Japan and places. We'd never run out of information or articles to write about. So, but basically, Tony's just a great writer, and he's well versed in comics. He knows a lot about comics, and he just writes tons of stuff, and it's all brilliant stuff. I just put it together, get the artwork, and do the designs. I design the magazine, and we just, basically throw it out there to the world.
So let me ask you something. Are you familiar with the whole Roy Thomas Wolverine Deadpool thing that's going on?
No. In a word, no.
All right. So it's something that happened recently
But if you want to write an article about it, I'll put it in.
Okay.
There you go.
So go on. What are you saying? What's happening?
So basically, the widow of Herb Trimpe got a call from Disney/Marvel saying that in the new Deadpool movie, Roy Thomas is going to get a co-creator credit. And it's a big controversy over because at the time he was an editor that he should not be getting co-creator credit as opposed to being a writer or the artist. And it's been going online a lot. And it's just, where does the line go from being a work for hire creator as opposed to being a editor in chief at the time? Because Roy Thomas was Stan Lee's successor.
Same story then, same old story going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who owns what? Who created what?
If you set a precedent whereby the person that is employed by the corporation, thereby their work is owned by said corporation, and you set the precedent that every one of those employed people has some kind of creator ownership on everything that they've worked on, even though they're only editors, that's a way of getting rid of your
need to pay anyone for being a creator.
Any kind of payout you have, exactly, on to those creators. It's a way of pushing the creators out. That's all that is.
Like Glenn said, same old, same old.
Yeah. Same old.
All right, cool. Mr. Mark, what are we looking at here, sir?
So this is issue 2, which I finally got to get out. It's in pre-production right now. It should be printed sometime this year, depending on how well the crowdfunder goes. The story was written 30 years ago, full 110 pages.
Wow.
The first issue came out last year. It took forever for it to finally come to fruition. The artwork that you're seeing there is about 20 years old. About 2 warring alien races fighting over a new discovered power source. War finds its way to planet Earth as a result, some humans gain abilities. You really can't tell that this is so old of an artwork and story, but I finally got it published, first issue last year. Now we're doing second issue. Throughout the years, we've been trying to see if we can do either 5-issue miniseries or a trade paperback. We've waffled back and forth through many deals that people say that they can make the book happen and it doesn't happen. So I finally got an opportunity to do it myself because thankfully, as one of the good things that came out of the pandemic is that crowdfunding became a thing. Peter Palmiotti, who's Jimmy's brother, suggested that we try it ourselves, and we did. So last year we got issue 1, and now we have issue 2. Daphne, if you want to play that quick little intro on the top. No, the top one, all the way on the top.
Enjoy the amazing Trauma Presents comic book premiere of Mr. Mark Torres, comic book called Designated. It's going to be an amazing event in 2023.
So we got Trauma, Toxic Avenger.
I like the way you had to look down to see who the name was.
That was hilarious. This is hilarious.
Who the hell are we talking about here?
We got them to present the comic book at New York Comic Con last year. We got a filmmaker, because I've been doing a radio show for over 20 years, and one of the filmmakers I ran into decided that he wanted to adapt it into a radio play. So we actually performed it as a radio play at New York Comic Con. We got Trauma to present us, and that was a little video that they made for us. And what's really cool is that we actually performed it again at a local convention in New York 2 weeks ago, and we had a live musical accompaniment. So we had a pianist right there. It's on our YouTube page now, and it elevated the whole production. Like just seeing your comic that you wrote 30 years ago turn into a radio play with special effects and music last 2 weeks ago was an amazing experience. And hopefully I want to get this finally out there, have this 5 issues finally made and out into the world.
All right, very nice. I mean, so this is issue 2.
Finally,
what are you?
issue 2, yes.
Yeah. When are we looking? And how long was it since issue 1? I don't even remember. Has it been
a year? It took a year. That's why we did the soft launch for the crowdfunder for issue 2, because I wanted to time it into the convention that I was at that we performed the radio play, so that way it kind of ties in together. The idea was that if it did well, the plan was to be able to make more than 1 issue a year, but it's just how it goes. So I'm happy to have issue 2 in the works, and if this one does well, we'll try to get issue 3 before a year is going, but the plan is to at very least get 1 issue a year out.
Got you. I'm gonna break your chops over this. I mean, so
Yes.
you're on crowdfunding, which is fine. It's a good platform.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you have your reasons for being on there, but when
Yes.
are you looking to like really
So,
are you looking to move on to another platform
so the
at some
answer
point?
is the crowdfunder allows you to do that. They say you want to go on many things you want, go right ahead. It's just me being me with my technology limitations. Just the
Right.
fact of getting it on there was a feat in and of itself. And we did try crowdfunder, and I didn't like it. And that also was a huge undertaking to do. And what was weird about it is that the first issue, we did crowdfunder, and we did a massive marketing promotion. I did at least 30 interviews in like 30 days to try and get it done. And we didn't fund. But the crowdfunder, it was less marketing, and I made about the same amount of money, relatively speaking. So I was like, well, that was a lot of wasted effort for nothing, where I could have done it this way. So that was why I don't want to go to any other platform as of yet. I mean, if I had a big bag of money, sure. But me being super poor, me being the way I am, I think I'm going little by little and try to build it as I've done everything else.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just saying you can take it to Kickstarter, put it at a lower, break even, and then you might be able to get some money. And what I would suggest is just making a smaller campaign, just just a few tiers, and just make it nice and easy for yourself. That's what I would suggest. But
Yes.
now I just wanted to pull this up real quick. I wanted to give Dave an opportunity to tell us about your book, man. Come on, tell us about Perfect 10.
Yeah. I totally forgot who it's for. If you like superhero books, right? So this is purely superhero. This 90s superhero stuff with a fantastic story. So the main character is called 10. She wakes up in this lab. She is attacked by superpowered criminals who want her dead. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know why she's there, who she is, and she has to fight to survive while also trying to protect this scientist that's with her. So it's very, very action-packed. The entire series takes place in this universe filled with superheroes and supervillains, and the story takes place in one single day. And basically, so the first book. So this is the first book, right? And it's a rounded story, so you don't need the following issues, so you can read along with one story. But this is pure superhero action. So I completely forgot that because this is the special book, right? So sorry about that.
I'm just going to jump in here and say I've got every issue, and it's brilliant. It's really good stuff.
It really is.
The rogues gallery in this it's at least as good as the ones that they put together for Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. It's fantastic. It's really good stuff.
Oh, thank you.
All right, cool.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, do you have another question, or you want me to go?
You can go. It's your show.
All right. So I got one that I think is I'll just ask the question. What is the one thing in this business that has eluded you? All right. So what is that one thing that you've always wanted to, I don't know, that you're looking to achieve that's been eluding you, that it's just just out of reach, and you're trying to get there, but you're just having a problem getting there?
Exposure, world domination.
Okay.
Pretty similar, yeah. I mean, just getting noticed at all. I can produce till the cows come home. I've published 150 books in the last 10 years. It's not hard.
Yeah.
You just go, but actually getting anyone to notice the work that you've done, that's tricky.
Yeah.
and especially financially support it, let alone notice.
Yeah, that's the break you need, isn't it? You need someone to in a position to see it, and work on it.
Yeah, I mean, people. I've said this before. I'm completely anonymous as far as the world of comics is concerned. I've drawn Batman. I've drawn Doctor Who quite a lot. Other characters that you'll have known, and nobody's got a clue who I am, and I don't care. I'm quite happy being completely anonymous, but it doesn't lead you to the next gig. And of course, you need to make a bit of a noise in order for people to know you're there. Yeah. So that's why the gig economy isn't actually that great for getting your own work done. Because you're only as good as the last book you were on, or the last editor that you knew, or that you gave a drink to, at least. And the work can stop, it can cease really quickly, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are. So doing your own stuff, independent stuff, really is the key. We've got all of us have got a fantastic opportunity to do this now, because mainstream is falling over. It doesn't quite know what it's doing. It's creating some rubbish, to be honest. There's a few good bits and pieces in there, but a lot of it's just not hitting the mark. And there's an opportunity for independent creators, film, games, whatever it might be, to come out there and do something. But the biggest hurdle is for people to know who you are and to know that you're actually out there saying, I've got something that you might like. And it's not like any of us need a massive audience. If you've got 1,000 fans who really like your stuff, as a comic book creator, you can make a very good living out of that. Yeah. So, it's just a matter of getting out there, and that's the thing that eludes me, and obviously eludes everyone else here as well.
All right, cool. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's the same. Basically, it's the marketing sense, right? The marketing part, that's the hardest. It's probably a different skill set. We can create. We are creatives, but then you have the marketing aspect. You can create the best book on the planet, but when you don't market it, when you go,
nobody sees it. Yeah,
no one sees it, and then and that's. I wish someone else would do this job for me, so I can focus on the writing stuff, right? And someone else goes on streams who's much more comfortable doing this and with some marketing like sensibilities. I'm trying to learn it, right? But it's tough.
Yeah, the ironic thing I find in my career is that I spent most of my graphics career in marketing, and the only thing I can't sell is me. It's true. I've worked on so many campaigns you wouldn't believe. But I can't sell me.
Likewise, project management. I've done more marketing campaigns than I can count.
Yeah.
Can't sell my work. Yeah.
I've done writing, illustration, film, all sorts of stuff, radio, all sorts of stuff. But I can't sell me. And
maybe we need to crisscross on that one. You can sell me, and I'll sell you, and we'll see what happens.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Do you think that's because you don't have yourself as a client, because there's no one on top of you, so you're you, and you're like, well, maybe kind of sort of, but if you're working for someone else, like, I have to do this for that person to get it out there.
And also don't forget, because I'm creating all my content, I do everything on the book. I don't collaborate. Not that I won't collaborate, it's just that I don't certainly with these properties that I have now. I don't have the time. I know I should find the time, but you've got to have something to put out there, and you can't put it out there until you've done it.
Yeah. All I want to do is sit here in the dungeon and draw pages.
Yeah,
and I've got to go on YouTube channels and do posts.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, some of it as well is a little bit of imposter syndrome. You tend not to shout about yourself. So if you paid someone to say, right, market me, they go, this is the best artist ever, and they've done this and it's fantastic, and you come on and go, yeah, I did this thing,
Yeah, yeah.
And you just don't sell it yourself in the same way, even though you're passionate about it. You just
Right.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's very hard to sit in a room with 7 people who are all creatives and go, "Yeah, I'm the best in the room."
Yeah,
Yeah, it's me. My stuff is way better than these guys.
Yeah.
Go buy my stuff, yeah, because you know that's the good stuff here. It's very very difficult to sit in a room
Yeah.
with other people, because especially when you're creatively aware of what it is you make. Yeah, you can be really passionate about what you're making, but you want to show respect to other people.
Mhm.
And you know, especially if you haven't experienced absolutely everything that everyone else in the room has to offer, it's very hard to go, yeah, well, I mean, my work's definitely better than Dave's. Like Dave, like, sorry, mate, it's just not as good. You know, you're gonna come and, who in this room is going to go ahead and do that? Like, it's
Right.
not happening. It's really difficult.
How to make friends and influence people, especially in the creative sphere. You know, it's not going to go down well, is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
but
That's
but,
a job
you know,
for
like,
corporate man.
I actually, me personally, I don't really care if you guys like me or not, but I do want to show respect to your work.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because your work deserves respect. Everyone's work deserves respect.
Mhm.
And therefore, yeah, sitting in a room like this and going, yeah, well, my work's just better, come buy it. It's impossible. You just can't do that. You have
It's a hard
to
ask.
you have to take a more measured approach than, as you're saying, someone who maybe you hired. Like,
Yeah.
they don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. They possibly aren't even creatives themselves, so they really don't care how it is that they behave towards creatives. Whereas I think we're hardwired to want to go, right, well, I'm as passionate about my work, and I've picked on Dave. Dave is clearly as passionate about his work as I am about mine, right?
Yes.
Why would I say that Dave's work is less good than mine? Like that, I want to show him the same respect that I would want him to show me.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just it makes it very, very difficult in that environment to
I
then go, definitely. My thing's the thing that you ought to invest your limited amount, especially in the current economy, your limited amount of spare money. Make sure you invest in my shit. Yeah,
Therein lies the problem for all of us as creators, really.
Yeah, I think basically we all need Stan Lee back, don't we, to push our stuff.
All
You
of
know,
us. Yeah.
if it's any good, maybe it's no good. Maybe there's a clue. Maybe it's no good.
Who even knows, right?
I know.
I'm going to go away and sob now.
I am the decider.
Well,
Yes,
what do you?
like, go ahead.
What has eluded me? I would say work for hire. I haven't been able to secure any work for hire at the moment, and I would love to be able to jump on a project that isn't mine and find what's special about it and make it great. I've already fallen in love with that with editing, with a few freelance editing clients I've gotten, just being able to jump into someone else's work and point out what's great about it and really make that shine. And I'd love to get to do that on like a different IP, a different property that I have no attachment to. I think that would be a great step in my career. And if you're an editor out there and you're listening to this, you should hire me, because to quote Ed directly, I am the best here, and I am absolutely worth it.
Also, hi, reach out to me. You should talk to me. You should talk to me. You should very much talk to me.
I'd be happy to.
You see, the thing is about what you said about the networking there is that doesn't really work, does it? Because nobody here does what we need. We don't need. Do you understand what I mean? Stan Lee isn't here, so we can all create, we can all draw and write and edit and do what we do, but the person isn't on the panel who can do what we need.
Right. We don't have a carnival barker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wells is going to do some editorial stuff ahead, but they're just going to ignore the rest of us now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, we're the rest of the room. We've just gone through that, right?
That's it. They're like, we're done with those guys. So, Mark, what's eluded you, if anything?
I think the marketing department. I mean, I have the radio show and I market everybody else. I hardly ever talk about myself, which is so weird. So like, hey, what do you got going on over there? Hey, what's your interest? What are you doing? As opposed to, this is what I'm doing. Because like, if you're selling yourself, just doesn't seem right. I don't know what it is.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. For myself, it's Arthur Adams. Arthur Adams has eluded me, and that all boils down to just lack of funds. So that's what that boils down to. It's just I'm pretty sure he's still at around the 10K range.
Yeah, there you go. That's eluded me. Being able to charge $10,000 for a page.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Well, Jim Lee is doing what, 200,000 for a sketch, right, or something?
No, it was like 20. It was like 20K.
20,000.
20,000 for a sketch.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was I think a full illustration. I think it was a full
one page.
I hope it's
character.
I hope it's as good as a Mona Lisa then.
Well, I
Pretty sure the
don't
Mona
know.
Lisa is worth a little more than 20K. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Worth what people pay for it, won't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's always surprised me what people will pay for original artwork, but apparently there's a huge market for it. Especially on that upper range.
I've got some you can buy. Plenty of pages.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's not Wolverine.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody knows who I am. Like Russ was saying, that's the
draw Wolverine on there.
Right.
Yeah, and get sued.
Yeah. Well, give Hatch some claws.
I did manage to sell all my Batman art. Well, nearly all of it. To Remitter Man. So it does make a difference when it's recognizable. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens with the other stuff. But it can be done. But unfortunately, you have to have something that's marketable. Again, you can't just put your own character up and think people are going to want to pay a lot of money for it. However, that said, like you said, JD, the original artwork, because there's less of it around, because obviously so many people did use digital tools, I did as well. It does mean that the current crop, there's a scarcity of original art. So it's a good thing to be in if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I can see a lot of artists sometimes going back to just pen and ink on paper just so that they can sell an original. Yeah, because because Brian Boland moved to digital like years and years ago. Yeah. So I can only imagine
his eyesight is failing. I think that's part of the reason why he did it, because he made the change very early on.
Yeah, he did.
So I think some of it is down to that. But I was doing digital art because I'd come from a design and programming background. I went straight to a Wacom, and I was doing digital art straight away when I came back to illustration. And like 3 or 4 years ago, I decided I was going to start using pen and ink again, because when you go to a crowdfunder, it's really good to have pages to sell.
Right.
It's really helpful. So I started doing that and found myself falling in love with doing it, using ink on paper. So now pretty much exclusively everything is done that way.
Yeah, but could you imagine how much he's missed out on those originals? Because Brian Boland paid
big money.
Jesus.
A lot of money,
50, 7,500K per cover, right? Because it's not even pages at this point. All he does is covers. So you can only imagine. But that's But gentlemen, we made it to the hour 2. So thank you so much for being here. This was awesome. Like I said, I try to do these once or twice a year. So yes, we did it. I try to do these once or twice a year because, like I said, I miss you guys. I don't get to talk to you guys as much, and I'm not available as early in the day as I used to be. The day job keeps me occupied. So let's start with Ed. Please, Ed, where can they find you and your work?
It's complicated. So depending on if you're interested in games, comics, or audio, it's a slightly different place. You can find us at shades_of_venge on Twitter, because Twitter is a pain in the backside and has one less available character for how long your name's allowed to be, so Shades of Vengeance doesn't fit. You can find us on Instagram at Shades of Vengeance, at SOV Comics, and at Earescapes. But most easily, you can find us at www.shadesofvengeance.com. That's probably the best place to find me. And thank you again for welcoming me, despite the fact I was an hour late. I appreciate it, everyone. You've all been very patient with me.
You were just early for the next one.
Yeah, very, very early.
We're strategically skipping out on the conversation about Jack Kirby and Stan Lee.
I'm not sure I could have added much to that anyway, so maybe it's for the best for everyone.
Nice. Russ, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Just to answer that question, my hero is John Buscema. There you go.
Okay.
You can, if you just quickly share the screen, would that be okay? There we go.
Hold on.
You got that? There you go. Right, so that's that cover we were looking at earlier on. We were talking about original artwork. All the artwork you get in the Shadow Kingdom is all original inked artwork. Whoops, there's one. And also from the Atlantean that will be coming out later this year. So if I stop sharing there.
Nice.
Thank you very much for seeing that. So that's just a
That's
sample
beautiful.
of what's going on in there. You can pick up, for the last 24 hours now, over at Fund My Comic, you can pick up the Shadow Kingdom. It's 112 pages in total. So it's a big package. It's only $25. Before it goes out to a special Critical Blast version, exactly the same as Dave's, where you get a big black and white version. But for the moment, that's where you can pick it up. And if you want to find out more about me and about the book and what have you, go to russleach.com and sign up for the email list so that I can keep you up to date with all the projects that are going on through Arrow and myself over there. And all the links to my social medias, including my YouTube channel, Comic Book Black Belt. You can pick all that up at russleach.com. Thank you.
All right, cool. Dave, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Right. So people can follow me on X. JD Comics is my tag there, and we have a web store at jmcomics.com, and I have a YouTube channel also called JD Comics, and you can see there multiple links to other like stores. We have a merch store, for instance. You can find it there. And we have so the active Kickstarter campaign for the Perfect 10 Artist Edition, and people can sign up for Perfect 10 Book 5 on Indiegogo. It's in pre-launch right now, so you can just type it in, find it, and please sign up for that. And thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Anytime, sir. It was awesome. Wells, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Absolutely. I am most easily found on Twitter, unfortunately, at Wells Thomp. It's just my name minus the last 3 letters. But you can also sign up for my mailing list called Comics, Cats, and Cocktails, where we talk about all those things on Substack. Easy to find just by typing in either my name or Comics, Cats, and Cocktails on Substack. But if that's too difficult for you, type in wellsthompson.com. And I can. There will be a link to it there, as well as a link to a bunch of my other work that you can read or otherwise purchase.
Very nice, very nice. All right, cool. Glenn?
Usual places, Facebook, Instagram, all these kind of things. But if you put my name in Google, something will come up. But I'm mainly on Amazon, I suppose. Most of my work is on there. Got 11 books in print on there, magazines. Just all over the place. Just put my name in, into Google, and it'll come up. Also on Fund My Comic, and I'm usually with Russ on a Friday morning and Sunday afternoon with Randy Zimmerman's programs, YouTube program, and just put my name in. Something will come up. There's a guy who's got my name. He's stolen my name, and he sells firing machine guns, and that's not me. So don't be confused. Don't be disappointed when you put my name in and there's a guy there firing machine guns at trees and things. Yeah,
that's funny. I gotta look that up.
Sounds like fun. No.
Well, the good news is I think I've told Russ this. My website, glennbfleming.com, was hijacked by a Japanese. Can I say the word?
Yeah.
site. And anyway, I've got it back now, so I'm working on a new website. So that hopefully that'll be coming soon. They seem to have, I was telling people to go to glenbfleming.com, and they did, and they said, "What the hell is this? It's a porn site. It's, oh my god!" And what happened was, let me just tell you, what happened was that when my renewal came up, I was abroad. I was on my holiday. And I missed it. And I missed it by 3 days. And when I went to renew it, they'd taken it. So everybody's going on glenbfleming.com and getting all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But,
they're like,
but not my stuff.
Yeah, they're like Glenn's changed careers.
Yeah. I think I lost several jobs through it as well.
Oh really? Oh man!
Glenn was starting his OnlyFans.
That's right. Yeah. They thought I was a scammer, but there you go. You'll live and learn. Anyway, I've got it back, so I'll be working on putting that back up soon.
Nice. So, Mark, where can they find your work, sir?
www.itcamefromtheradio.com, or just Google It Came From the Radio. We have a show every Sunday at 6 p.m. So after this, I have to go to the radio station. We broadcast online, but it's also at an actual radio station. That's the WGBB, Long Island's oldest radio station. It's on 95.9 FM and 1240 AM simulcast. We're also on WARY 88.1 FM in Westchester County, New York. But then, like I said, we're on also tons of podcast places. So if you listen to radio shows on podcast, we're on there. If not, let me know and I will get us on there. And also this Wednesday, I'm going to be at the East Meadow Public Library doing our monthly live show, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library. We're going to have a TV producer and author, Jerry Carita. It's a free event. You come on down, you be part of the live studio audience, and usually we walk away with some type of raffle prize. So Jerry is going to be giving away a copy of his book. So make sure you guys go check out for that. For more information, go to www.eastmeadow.info.
All right, cool. And, you can find me here most Sundays. Next week, I should be back at my regular time. But currently, the Oswald Chronicles still on Kickstarter, and Tall Tales Online also on Kickstarter. So go check those out. And just remember, everybody, all of these creators are awesome, and all of them deserve your support. So in the links, in the show notes, there are all of their links. So go check those links out. Go hit them. Go support these campaigns. Because all of these creators are awesome. They all deserve your support, all right? So just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good day, guys. Thank you.
See ya. See ya.
See if we can get it.
Still live.
I think we're still live.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying
Nothing
to.
awkward about this at all.
I love the
No,
awkward.
no.
Fine. There's no problem here. It's all
There we
good.
go.